Should bikers be forced to wear protective clothing? Watch this video. Hello, welcome to RevelatorAlf. I hope you're all well. So I've just come across an article in the motorcycle press here in the UK of this lady who's put a petition to force for the government to enforce the mandatory wearing of protective clothing for all bikers, motorcyclists. And look, this comes after her brother was involved in an accident. He was wearing a jacket, he was wearing a helmet, but he wasn't wearing any lower leg protection and boots or anything like that. And he's sustained some injuries. Thankfully, he didn't lose his life, but he's going to have to spend quite a few months recovering from his injuries. Now, this comes up all the time, and it's very easy for you to have this reaction if, let's say, one of your nearest and dearest is involved in an accident, they're not wearing any protection, and you think, okay, yeah, if they wore protection, they wouldn't have had these injuries. It's a natural reaction. In fact, there's always been this big push to say, if you wear the protection, it's going to protect you. And the truth of the matter is, now bearing in mind, I've been involved in dealing with all sorts of accidents for over 20 years, nearly 25 years, and motorcycle accidents. I used to run a motorcycle campaign, motorcycle safety initiative called Heli Bikes for many, many years. And the problem is that people misidentify or mistaken what protective equipment does. It tends to protect you from glancing blows, from sliding motion. It protects the skin, that kind of thing. It protects you up to a certain point. But let's say if you're going quite fast and you hit a car head on, or you hit a tree or a wall or something, that hard impact, it's not going to do anything. And so many times I went to accidents where motorcyclists, bikers were wearing all the kit, everything, and they still succumbed to their injuries. Or they still had injuries. Now, you could argue, well, you know, if they didn't succumb to their injuries, if they didn't die, then maybe they would have died if they weren't wearing the equipment. So I get it. It's always going to provide a little bit of protection, but the most protection comes from those low impact kinds of crashes. So should it be mandatory? Should it be mandatory to wear this sort of stuff? Well, it's a good idea, right? It's a good idea that you make people wear protective clothing on the face of it. But the problem is, and I've always said this, and people were kind of surprised when I used to say this because I was running a motorcycle safety initiative and I would explain how this protective equipment worked and everything like that. I would say it's better to invest in better rider training or rider awareness or safety awareness or hazard perception rather than just making people wear protective clothing. And to police this, to enforce this, it opens up a real big question here as well. What level of motorcycle protection are you going to expect people to wear? And who's going to produce that? Where is it going to come from? What is the cost? The cost of motorcycling in the UK and around Europe and dare say other parts of the world has just gone up and up and up. In fact, to get a license here in the UK is, it's really difficult and it's, quite expensive as well. Also, you start throwing on really expensive motorcycle protective clothing, then you're going to deter a lot of people. But in most cases of accidents, I'd always say this, it's a rule of thirds. You'd have 1/3 of all motorcycle accidents that is not the rider's fault. You'd have another third of motorcycle accidents that is all the rider's fault. There's nobody else involved. It's just the rider's lost control and that kind of thing. And then there's another third where it's equal. There's the rider was at fault and also the other vehicle was at fault as well. So 2/3 of all motorcycle accidents, the rider has a big part to play in it. So if you can actually change the way the rider is riding and thinks about hazards, then it's a much better investment rather than just thinking you've got to wear motorcycle protection. Now, if you marry the two up, yes, granted, but you're really trying to avoid that crash. And your best rider training is going to avoid that rather than relying on something to protect you in the future. Now, I'm not by any stretch saying that this is a bad petition by this lady because she's just had a brother involved in a crash. I'm not saying that at all. If you want to have a petition, fine. I just don't think it's enforceable. I just don't think it's, you can police it. But also, I think it raises so many other questions. I think it raises the question of, well, what are we actually training and what are people actually relying on, and do they understand the mechanics that are involved in a crash, the mechanisms that are involved as well. And this I see all the time, and I hear all the time, a total misunderstanding, even from within safety organizations, even within the emergency services. There's always been a big misunderstanding because they just don't fully understand what protective equipment does and how it should be worn and where it's going to protect you in some cases and it won't protect you in other cases. I certainly think that people should have the right to choose. They should have the right to choose on what level of protection they should wear. I do agree that possibly the younger that are coming into motorcycling, maybe there should be more of an encouragement for them to wear motorcycle protection because they're just not experienced enough. And there's no real worldly wisdom on the road to kind of get them out of these situations or know when these hazards are going to occur. And that can really affect their riding. So I kind of support that. But certainly in a general sense that people should have to wear motorcycle protection. And again, and also there's a big shift now. Whereas before, years ago, or quite a few years ago, I should say, if you had to wear motorcycle protection, it was obvious. Now you can wear motorcycle protective gear and it's like you're wearing casual clothing. It's very well disguised. So from that point of view, you think, okay, yeah, I don't really want to wear motorcycle clothing that looks protective. I just want to wear something that doesn't look protective, as it were. And many people are doing it. Many people that you see riding bikes, actually, they're just riding with this kind of leisure riding gear that gives them protection, but it doesn't look protective. So I dare say a lot of people are already doing it. In the UK, we have the helmet law, so everybody rides with a helmet anyway. But to make it mandatory, then I think you're really opening up a whole can of worms here. And then you've got to justify the reasoning for it. And I think if you looked into the cause of motorcycle accidents and the causes of injuries, and those injuries that the rider was wearing motorcycle protective clothing and not wearing motorcycle protective clothing, if you're asking me, should you be riding around with shorts and t-shirts and riding trainers, then I would say, no, you're a fool into yourself. Wear some decent trousers at least, or just wear some normal trousers and wear a pair of boots. Wear a jacket of some sort, wear some gloves and wear a helmet. I see so many of these delivery riders all over the place just in, tracksuit bottoms and wearing trainers, and their ankles are exposed, and they haven't got any gloves or anything like that, and you think, if you come off, you're really gonna get hurt. But that's a discussion for another video. Anyway, so let us know your thoughts in the comments below. Should it be mandatory to wear motorcycle protective clothing? I don't believe so. I think a better investment in rider training and hazard awareness, hazard perception is a much better thing to do. If you like what I do here, keep on watching the videos. Don't forget all the books on the website, RevelatorAlf.com/books. And I'll catch you again in another video coming very soon. Right, let's get out of this sauna. Bye now.